A new video. Today we're doing NBA player props here on PrizePicks for Monday, March 27th. Before I get started, there's a link in the description below to sign up for PrizePicks, or you can use promo code TUFF to sign up. They will match 100% of your first deposit. Discord link in the description, as well as Patreon link, where I post all the plays that I'm making on PrizePicks for each given sport that I do play. Again, I do need to mention I'm not a gambling expert, and this is not financial advice. Simply just plays I'm personally looking at making. Hopefully, give you guys some insight and analysis to make your own player prop decisions here. But yeah, let's get into it, you guys. Not loving the slate today overall. I think we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games on the slate, but there's just so many injuries, so many players questionable, so many players that have already been ruled out here. So just really not loving the slate at all. Currently on PrizePicks, I think there's 2 plays here that I do like. Probably on Patreon, I have only about 5 core plays today. Just a weird day in the NBA, it seems like, with just so many players out, kind of getting to that point in the year. I mean, Kawhi Leonard's now questionable, but getting to that point in the year, towards the end of the season, I think there's only like 8 games left, where we're seeing teams that are looking to tank, just sit players. Just a lot of different narratives going on in the NBA right now. So make sure you guys are kind of betting lightly right now until we get to the playoffs, which is obviously the best time, in my opinion, to bet on the NBA. But let's get into it, you guys. I got 2 plays that I like here on PrizePicks. All I ask is please you drop a like on this video. But let's get into it. The first one that I like here is going to be Trey Murphy, over 25.5 fantasy score against the Portland Trailblazers. Now, this is a team here, the New Orleans Pelicans, that are looking to win basketball games, right? They're looking to get into that playoff spot. Hopefully get Zion Williamson back just in time for the playoffs so they can make a little bit of a run here. This is a very interesting game here, Portland versus New Orleans. It's looking like, Grant's questionable, Nurkic is questionable, Anthony Simons is questionable. I mean, it really seems like Portland's kind of throwing in the towel here. But I think this game could remain somewhat competitive too. Only 11-point spread, which is a lot. I think at 13, we're looking at like a real chance of a blowout here. But Portland is at home. We know Portland is somewhat of a tough place to play here. But Trey Murphy, if we take a look at his last 5, he has it the over in this in 3 of his last 5 and 2 of his last 2, having 32.9 and 44.9 2 nights ago against the LA Clippers. Now, Trey Murphy has been playing well as of late. If we could take a look here, over. He's been playing well, I would say, over his last, really the month of March here. It really comes down to Trey Murphy if he's going to hit his shots. I think the volume will be there. We can see here double-digit field goal attempts in 8 of his last 8 games. We're looking at like 7+ 3-point attempts in 8 of his last 8 games as well. He is getting some peripheral stats: 2 steals, 4 steals, 1 block, 1 steal, 3 steals, 1 block, 1 steal. So that is really going to obviously help us in a fantasy point scoring. Here, if we take a look kind of just over his last. Let's take a look at his averages over his last 8. We do this live for you guys over last 8 games. And for anyone asking, this is statmuse.com. So we're looking at over his last 8. He's averaging 32.5 fantasy points over his last 8. 21.4 points, 3.6 rebounds, 1.1 assists, 1.4 steals, 4.9 threes over his last 8 games, averaging per game on 9.6% 3-point attempts. But it's really just an elite matchup to me. We take a look here. Over the last 15 games, Portland is allowing the most fantasy points to the shooting guard position over the last 15. Over the last 7, the most fantasy points at 50.57 fantasy points to the shooting guard position. We can see here third most 3-pointers, right? The second most assists here. We're looking at 5th most rebounds to the small forward or shooting guard position. Sorry, it's just an elite matchup. We look at shooting guards here. Fantasy score game luck against Portland. Now this is just recent games. Look at all these games just in the month of March, right? We can see here we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 different players have cleared this line just in the month of March as far as the shooting guard position goes. Kind of players similar to Trey Murphy here. We're looking at like Zach LaVine. Obviously not. Trey Murphy's not as good as Zach LaVine, but just his ability to attack the rim and shoot the 3. Zach LaVine here. CJ McCollum, Isaiah Joe, Shai Gilgeous, and Josh Giddey all last night had 40+ fantasy points against Portland. Josh Richardson 40.9, Derek White 35.5, RJ Barrett 35, Eric Gordon 29.9. So yeah, just a great spot here overall for a player like Trey Murphy. If we take a look at kind of his PRA, right, his line for this PRA line, this game is 20.5 minus 125 here. Let's actually refresh this to see if this line is bumped at all. We're looking at Yeah, for Trey Murphy, 20.5 to go, well, minus 127 here on Caesar Sportsbook to go over 20.5 PRA. So I like the odds here for us. Trey Murphy has been hot lately. I think he continues that in just an absolute elite matchup. The most elite matchup over the last 15 games for a shooting guard here in a must-win game for New Orleans. I like Trey Murphy over 25.5 fantasy. And then the other one is going to be a first half prop here. It's going to be a PRA. And we're looking at Marvin Bagley over 11.5 PRA against the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, Marvin Bagley, if we take a look at this, has hit this in 3 of his last 3 games here, 17, 21, and 19 PRA over his last 3 games in the first half. We take a look at this matchup. Taking first half, obviously Milwaukee is the best team in the league debatably. They're playing Detroit, probably one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the NBA. But no Giannis, no Drew Holiday in this matchup, which should definitely help weaken the Milwaukee Bucks defense here. Looking like Jay Crowder is going to start along with Brook Lopez, but they have been giving up significant production here to power forwards as of late, and then you take out their 2 best defenders. I think it gives Marvin Bagley even a better chance here. We take a look at Marvin Bagley's first half PRA game log this season. I mean, he has a pretty decent hit rate over his last 10 or 11 games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 of his last 12 games. He has hit the over on this as far as first half PRA. Loving the minutes he's getting as well. 16, 19, 17, 15, 16, 15, and then 20 and 18 minutes in the last 2 first halves he's played, which is very, very promising for me here. 18 minutes against Toronto, which is considered a tough matchup here for power forwards. If we look at other power forwards, first half PRA game log against the Bucks, I mean, this has a decent hit rate as well. Patrick Williams had 12, Grant Williams had 12, Jalen Smith had 13, Sochan had 14, Blake Griffin had 14. And these are all in Michael Green had 15 PRA in the first half against Milwaukee in only 11 minutes here. Siakam had 17 in 18 minutes. Cam Johnson had 22. Porzingis had 26. So it's a decent matchup, and I think one that Marvin Bagley can exploit here. But just the differences in first half PRA to his full game. I mean, look, he's looking at 24.5 PRA is what the line is here on Caesars and Sugar House. So we're looking at splitting that in half. It's going to be around 12.5 PRA or 12 PRA, and we get a little bit of value here, in my opinion, at 0.5 discount at 11.5 PRA. I do think this line gets bumped up maybe to 12, but Marvin Bagley playing 18 plus minutes in a matchup without Giannis and Drew Holiday here at home. I like the odds here for this one as well. So Marvin Bagley over 11.5 PRA, Trey Murphy over 25.5 fantasy. Let me know in the comments below how you guys feel about these 2 plays. Drop a like, hit the subscribe button, and as always, let's cash.